Great day, great day. Sae'Von Springer here, founder, managing partner of Native Assets, author of the Blockchain Blueprint. Now, today is Wednesday, May 18th, and I woke up. I said, let me go ahead, live some life, play with my son. Do that. So actually, did I play with him today? Let me not even cap. I didn't play with him today. Anyhow, I said, eventually, I looked at what was going on in the market, right? And yesterday, I noted that the, prices were moving up, but nothing happens forever in straight lines. But there was positive price action. We had tested some lower levels in the last few days. The supports held, and I was like, all right, cool. Maybe we have seen the worst of it. And I may still be of that opinion, at least for the time being. But then I checked on things today and prices are down. If we look at this moment, Bitcoin is down about 4.7% in the last 24 hours or on the day. And the DXY, which is not something I usually talk about, but we were going to start talking about it, is up about 0.2%. So let's take a look at some of these headlines. So in general, if I had to summarize why we're seeing the price action we're seeing at this exact moment, we recently seen European or the UK inflation hits a 40-year high. All right. And let's think about what happened when the US put out its numbers for the inflation having hit a 40-year high. And we also see some other prominent companies such as Target. Their shares are down about 25% after they acknowledged that the high cost and inventory woes have been affecting their bottom line. So as of this moment, the Wall Street sell-off has gained steam with the Dow falling more than 700 points. This is according to a headline at CNBC. We come over to Bloomberg. Stock sell-off deepens with NASDAQ 100 sinking 3%. And Goldman CEO sees recession risk for extremely punitive inflation. And like we spoke about a couple weeks ago, we have to keep the market psychology and sentiment in mind at all times, because if everybody in the market is bearish, well, the market is likely to show bearish price action while that sentiment is the case. And yes, there is a philosophy, there's an argument that whatever the masses are thinking, are believing, that the opposite is going to play out. And the reason is the idea of the market wanting to, I say the market as if it's this entity, but if we think of the market as an entity in and of itself, the market wants to make the greatest amount of people lose the most amount of money. Why? Because if that happens, then the market makes the most money. And you can substitute the word market out for institutions, big money, the hand behind the hand behind the hand that is in the purse of the people. But all seriousness, both things can hold true. The idea that you must follow the market sentiment, but you also have to be aware that a lot of times the market is going to do the counter of what most people are thinking, but they don't happen in lockstep. Usually sentiment is what drives things. Then eventually the sentiment kind of tips over a certain point at which now the market flips on that sentiment. And so just go back, look at bull markets, right? Bull markets, there had to be, and the bull market lasted for quite some time. And then once every single person seems to be bullish, oh, boom, now things might begin to change a bit. And obviously you have to take in macro factors, macro conditions, all of that. But this is also in tandem with Jerome Powell, with people being afraid that the Federal Reserve will continue to do what it said it would do, right? But in addition to that, there is some concern that instead of additional 50 basis points, which is a 0.5% interest rate increases, that they may push for 0.75. All right, now, what is the justification for that? Now, Jerome Powell did an interview with, I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but he did an interview over the weekend, and he made some comments about inflation. And if we see recently, he said that they will continue to push. They will keep pushing until inflation comes down. And from all of the talking pieces that I've seen come out of Jerome Powell and the Fed, they continue to press on this idea that basically they feel that supply and demand are out of sync with each other, and that specifically the labor market, that there are too many job openings, not enough people taking those jobs, and that the wages are increasing too quickly almost. Now, part of that has to do with inflation, but the other part of it is kind of a supply demand situation, right? If employers need to hire people, but not enough people want to work, then they're really going to have to entice some people to stay along. And what I think is really odd is that I I felt, at least, that the majority of market participants, people who are actively investing, managing funds, all of that, that there was a bit of a consensus or acknowledgement that, hey, the Fed has come out and they have said that they are going to be aggressive in taming this inflation, that their number one concern is to get inflation back under control. So if Jerome Powell comes out and says, yeah, we're still concerned about inflation, we still are looking to push inflation down, why? Why are the markets reacting so petrified about these comments? Because here's the reality: either they're going to do exactly what they said they're going to do, right? According to this forward guidance, which is basically when they come out and they say, hey, we plan to do X. So then Mark's like, oh man, they said they're going to do this. And then either that happens or it doesn't. And in the event that it does happen, cool. This is something that the market should have already priced in. And if it is counter from what they said they were going to do, it either makes the markets drop further or they're going to rally really strongly, because that either means that, let's say the Fed, all right, boom, next two rate hikes, we're going to do 0.5%. So if they do that, we shouldn't see any crazy reaction. If anything, it might be mildly positive or stay ranging and stay consolidated, because it's what the market expected. If they were to raise interest rates by 0.75 basis points or 0.75%, 75 basis points, then the market is likely to capitulate even further, because, oh my God, they said 0.5 and it's 0.75. If they were to either not raise interest rates, so they paused and they just didn't move them at all, or if they were to drop interest rates, so instead of a 0.5%, let's say they did a 0.25% increase. That is bullish. If they brought interest rates down, all right, dropped interest rates, that is uber bullish. And it's unlikely we see that happen in the near term, but no politicians want a recession on their name. Now, none of them want hyperinflation on their name either, but it is less likely we see hyperinflation before we see a recession. It is more likely a recession happens than it is that we see hyperinflation. And so the Fed being a political instrument, some people will argue that it's not. I think it's hard to say that it's not. But them being a political instrument in a lot of ways, at some point they're going to have to begin to factor in the politics more than they're factoring in the inflation. That's my speculation. Either way, I just wanted to touch on some of that so there was some context as to what is going on with prices. Now, the reason it is very important, it is quite important to look at what the DXY is doing, is this is a measurement of the strength of the US dollar. All right, so as you can see right now, 103.54. If we look at this chart, it looks like Bitcoin did at the end of 2020 and in 2021. I mean, it is literally going parabolic. And when the dollar is strong, you usually see risk assets lose their value or go down in price. Reason being, if the dollar is strong, it gives people the confidence to hold their wealth, hold their money in the dollar. And if we were to go back, we would look at 2021. Boom, this is where 2020 begins. And this is March of 20, or the end, this is where 2020 starts. And we can see, boom, dollar just going down, 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 down. And then in March of 2021, it rallied a bit, touched the 200-day moving average. That is this line right here. And that was around 92.74. And then it went up a little higher, and it came back down, climbed up a little bit, and from July or June, mid-June of 2021, it began to rally, and it has been rallying ever since. If we were to actually measure from that bottom, let's go ahead, and that was roughly June 15th, 2021, to where it is now, or where it peaked most recently, that's a 16% rally. If we bring it back down to where the price is right now, that's 14%. Now, in crypto terms, that may not be impressive, but that is a lot for the DXY. And we can see what I find interesting and why I started it and why I wanted us to touch on this is we have been rallying. But we are seeing that we are touching the top of this Bollinger Band range, and we are sitting on the 21-week exponential moving average. And that is support at this moment. At the same time, we see that there was recently a death cross, right? That's when this blue line crosses over the red line to the downside. And all the while, RSI has been quite high. Now, when something is bullish, it can stay very high, and that's not abnormal. But I just think it is important for us to be mindful of what the dollar is doing in terms of its strength, because as long as this stays strong, and we're seeing we didn't drop below this 21 average, as long as this is strong, risk assets are likely to struggle or to consolidate. Now, if we were to see a reversal and for this to start to come down, then we may have a different conversation at hand. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at Bitcoin. And so this is the two-day or the daily time frame is what we're looking at. And if we were to zoom out a bit, we can see that the capitulation or the downward fall really began this downtrend on the 29th of March, and then the capitulation really took effect on the 5th of May. And since our last video, Tether has, UST, Terra's stablecoin completely imploded, death spiral, the Luna token, death spiral, literally worth fractions of a fraction of a cent as of this moment of recording. And so this day, May 5th, this is when the capitulation really hit. So from May 5th, boom, down to the wick low was about a 35% correction. To where we are right now, we're still down about 27%. But is there any good news, Sae'Von? Well, first and foremost, what I'm aiming to do here is to observe or to objectively analyze what's going on with these prices. Now, obviously, I'm an investor. I want these prices to go up, but this is a part of what happens. So what is the quote-unquote bullish outlook, or what is the positive news? Because by default, this looks bearish. Prices have been falling. I don't think I need to justify that we are in a downtrend for the time being. So what should we look out for in terms of where this thing could go next? Now, there was a strong rally for 3 days. And a lot of the times when you're looking at these candles, if you can find 3 or more of a candle in a row, that is a bit of a trend, all right? Now, that's not a finite rule. That's not absolute. But generally speaking, that's something that you can observe. And so on the 13th of May, we had 3 green days, and there was a pretty strong wick on May 13th, and then price closed in above that level on the 15th. And then on the 16th, we had a very strong reversal candle because it came, a bearish engulfing candle, came down, strong wick to the downside. And then the next day, it was a bit of consolidating. And now we have seen the wick, let's say it's been consumed. It's been realized to the downside where we are now. But what is key to take note of is that this range, this blue box that we drew a few weeks ago, it has still held. Yes, on the 12th, there was a very strong wick to the downside. And so technically there were some orders that were filled down there. But for the most part, we have seen this bottom range of this box holder support. And my theory is that right now, this is I ain't gonna call it a do or die moment, but we see confluence between the price action resting on the support level. As of this moment, it's about 28,009. And we saw the wick literally touch, man, if we just zoom in, the wick touched the very bottom of this box, which was 28,850. But we also see that from a daily time frame perspective, we are approaching a golden cross. And we also see the RSI is down here around about 32. And 30 is typically oversold. All right. So we've been floating down here in this range. And we can see, let me zoom out rather, that it is about time for prices to reverse and at least balance out the MACD as well as the RSI. Because with any of these metrics, just like prices can't go up only, prices cannot go down only. So what does all this mean in summation, Sae'Von? I expect a pretty strong relief rally coming in the next 2 weeks. All right. I would say we should see this relief rally in earnest really begin by Friday, because a lot of times the highest volume trading days are Mondays and Fridays. So if you're going to see an explosive price movement, you usually see it on a Monday or a Friday. So my speculation, and we're going into the monthly close. And so there's a lot of like options traders that deal with the monthly close. And that's not this week, but we're going to see it in the not too distant future. So I would watch out as long as the bottom of this range holds, which is about worst case scenario, 28,800 or so. As far as this immediate support that we would want to see hold if we are to see this strong relief rally, as long as that holds and we can close above that today, then I expect that in the next 48 to 72 hours, price will go up and it will try to test the $33,000 range. And it'll come up and try to touch the 21 EMA. And then if it does that, then it will likely come back down and retest the low 31,000 range, find support there, and then it will try to bounce and work its way back up to 40,000. All right. So in summary, what I'm expecting, if we want to see any type of strength in Bitcoin, and so that would also equate to strength in crypto, which would also at this point probably correlate to strength in the NASDAQ and the S&P, is we want to see the 28,800 range hold as support. We want to see a close above that range. Ideally, we want to see a close above 29,000, ideally. If we do that, then expect the price to come back up and work its way to try and test the $33,000 range. If that happens, then it will either clean breakthrough if there's a lot of momentum, or we will see it come back down and retest the 31,000 range. In either of those situations, if we want to see strong continued price action, then we want the price to go back up and watch for a retest of the resistance around 37,000, 37,500. If that happens, then we want to see it break through that. But if it doesn't, then we definitely want to find support if it comes back down at 34,000. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some lines because, hey, what is TA if you don't have lines? All right, so we already see we're down here. We want to hold this. We want to come back up. We want to test the 33,000 range. Boom. And then after that, we'd likely see a retest of this range up here. 37.5, 38,000. And yeah, so that's the, and then once we get up there, we're likely to see some price ranging in that region. But the setup is there. We're holding some support right now. Yes, prices are dropping, but I do think that we could see a swing to the upside. Oh, other thing I did not mention, today there's actually a meeting, or yesterday was the meeting. Let me see, what is his name? Bukele. What is the country? It'll come up. Boom. El Salvador. So El Salvador's president, he held a meeting quite recently where this was yesterday, where he was, yesterday or Monday, what day was it? It was an event between Monday and Wednesday. And let me just read out this article from MSN. A host of As host of an annual meeting of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, El Salvador's president Nayib Bukele is promoting the usage and adoption of Bitcoin to 32 central banks and 12 financial officials representing emerging economies. The event, which takes place between Monday and Wednesday, covers topics such as financial inclusion and the digital economy, Bukele said, as well as the benefits El Salvador has obtained from becoming the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender last year. According to Bukele, among the countries attending are Paraguay, Haiti, Honduras, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Angola, Ghana, Namibia, Uganda, Bangladesh, Palestine, and Pakistan. So, reason I mention this, there seems to be a theme where whenever there is an event from El Salvador, Bukele, promoting Bitcoin or making a big move on Bitcoin, the price tanks really hard. Now, this is my speculation, but the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, they have already come out and in opposition to countries adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. These folks got pull. These folks got bread. So, I'm just saying, there seems to be, correlation is not causation, but a correlation between milestone events or days or conversations from El Salvador, which is kind of the poster child for adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, and the drop in price of Bitcoin, the asset. Now, you pair this in with people freaking out time and time again about what Jerome Powell is saying. You pair this with the UK reporting in its highest inflation numbers in 40 years, and it's a perfect storm for prices to drop. But I think what is telling is that, as we finish up this recording, it's losing this box. All right. Yeah. Either way, keep these things in mind. These are outside factors. These are macro conditions that are influencing the price. So ultimately, we can do all the TA in the world. We can talk about all the news in the world, but you have to ask yourself, are you trying to trade these assets? Are you investing in these assets? Because my humble opinion, right, just something you can keep in mind, do not trade your investments. Do not invest in trades. All right, that's it for this one. Once again, my name is Sae'Von Springer, founder and managing partner of Native Assets, author of the Blockchain Blueprint. And I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful, lovely day. And I'm going to holler at y'all real soon. Till the next one. Peace.